We were born over 30 years ago with a mission to digitally transform organizations. 1988 was the year we took off to help our customers and partners discover new worlds. Worlds where organizations are more agile, efficient, and able to change according to market needs. Where management systems become growth drivers instead of barriers. Our formula for success is no secret. Models are the recipe for quickly designing innovative products that are ready to face the future. To fuel this mission, we train new people with modeling knowledge every day. We fight for a new world where knowledge in software development is democratized. We GENIU, or Generative Artificial Intelligence tool, professionals with specialties in the most diverse areas reach extreme levels of productivity, far superior to those who develop solutions coding manually. We have specific solutions for over a dozen industries, but we do not believe in the one-size-fits-all. All our systems are adaptable to different realities. Every customer is unique. We are focused on the quality and safety of everything we developed, as well as social and environmental responsibility. It was this vision that allowed us to grow in Portugal, to be recognized by members of various governments, and to take national technology to foreign markets. First with East Timor, and currently in 20 geographies on all continents. But the long road we've already traveled is just the beginning. We want to continue to innovate to create more value for the members of our ecosystem. We want to make the organization's universe more sustainable and resilient to rapid and expected changes. We count on you. Count on Quidgest.
Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar about digital transformation in cultural heritage. We'll be here today with 𝗬𝗓𝗺. She's our client, has been a client for a few years, and she's going to talk about a very interesting project that we had, the Cinemateca project. And it was a very complex and very defiant project for us, and also for Cinemateca. And she's going to talk about that project and how it was to implement that project inside the Cinemateca Portuguesa. And at the end of this presentation part, we're going to have a few time for questions. So save your questions to the end, and we'll be glad to answer them at the end of the webinar. So I'm going to hand out the information here to 𝗬𝗓𝗺. She's going to talk a little bit about the project, and take notes if you have questions about everything that she's going to ask, and I'll be asking my own questions during the presentation. So maybe I'll answer some of your curiosities.
Olá, Beatriz, bom dia. Thank you for the invitation. Hello, everyone. So I will try to present to you the new and the project of the new information system that we had in the last years. It was a project that we aimed to make a system that would stand for the motto of cooperating and sharing. That is, first of all, internally at the Cinemateca. The Cinemateca is the Portuguese film archive, film museum here in Portugal. It's an institution under the supervision of the Culture Ministry. And we have different collections, different holdings, and also not only holdings, but also information about, for instance, the Portuguese filmography and so on, that we had the desire to gather in order to make a system that will be available to all of us and all of the public through an external portal. So the challenge was, we had different catalogs in different systems and databases, for instance, the film holdings and TV holdings also, the library records, the stills, posters and drawings archives, and also the paper archives, and the collection of apparatus and objects. So all these different resources have different standards to record the information. This was one of the first challenges, is how to gather the information, how to find a common language between all these different collections. But also we aimed to include the events, and the events include the programming information, that is the activities of our programming department, which includes the film screenings, the daily film screenings, and the organization of film retrospectives, etc. But also, and I will show you that a little bit later, we at the library also collect the information about all the films that were presented in Portugal commercially, that is in a film theater, since 1918. That's only information, so you have the information about the title, the original title, the Portuguese title, the film director, the year, the country of production, and then the film theater or theaters where the film was screened, and the date of that premiere, and also the film distributor. Another entity of our model are the authorities, of course, the personal, the family, the corporate and group authorities, which in this system that we envisioned was they play different roles. They can be either the subject of a film, the subject of a document, a paper document, whatever, or the people represented in an image, or even someone who donates or deposits some collections at the Cinemateca. And then, of course, the 𝗬𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀, the works, the places, the people, the objects, the concepts, and the events that are the subject of all of these resources. And finally, we also wanted to include a management system for the collection holdings, and also only information. This is important because we are not only responsible for the holdings we have, but also for the loans. For instance, for the film screenings, we often ask for our colleagues to lend us the materials they have in their holdings in order to be presented in Portugal. So
that was a very interesting part, because it's very important to keep track of all these film movements. So,
exactly.
You need to know where the film was in an exact moment, and to be able to say, okay, you lend us your film and you know exactly where it is, and you also need to track when they go to restoration, right?
Yes.
We have also that part where you keep track of what happens to the film and what were the different actions that were made in the film, right?
Exactly. So if a film is loaned to the Cinemateca to be projected in our film theaters, first of all, it's projected internally for our colleagues, our programmer colleagues, to develop a document, a text, an original text on the film that accompanies the exhibition, the public exhibition of that film. And then it goes through different steps, and we have to find to track the responsibility. That is, if something happens to that film that is not ours, it has to be repaired, and then it passes from one department to another department, in this case to the archival department, in order to be repaired. So it's not restoration, but the operations of re-establishing the material have to be done before the film is again with the owner.
It's a very interesting part if you don't know these types of systems. I remember that I found it very curious the way the films were categorized, because we have to describe if they have any problem, if they have a tear in the film, everything that might happen to the film. This is very meticulously registered about each movie, and so it's very interesting the part where we develop this analysis that needs to be done with the film when they go to the technical team. So I find it very interesting.
The opposite also happens. So if a film from our collection is loaned to another Cinematheque or to a film festival or whatever, film club, etc. When it comes back, it has to be viewed in order to examine and analyze all the pains that may have occurred during the projection, and we have to note to record all all those images before repairing them, and then the film goes again to the vault.
Yeah, very interesting.
So we had some key issues. I will talk about that while showing you the system that was developed by our IT partners. The first key issue was, as told before, the harmonization of different cataloging standards and rules. For this, we followed the International Federation of Film Archives cataloging rules, the new version that was published in 2016. It's a rule that follows the model of the functional requirement for bibliographic records from the late 90s of the 20th century. And our so this new system followed also that cataloging rules. And as film is our core business, all the other different collections would follow this same model, and that's the model that was implemented in our system.
For our viewers, just explain that the idea was to have a way of searching the information through all these different types of holdings. So the idea is that if I search for Manuel de Oliveira, for the foreign that might be here that might know it, it's a very known Portuguese director, and so we wanted to make sure that we retrieved information from all the types of holdings, and then to make it easier for a user, an internal user or an external user, to find all the information that we have about Manuel de Oliveira. So this is what was the main challenge, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was a really a real challenge, but also it's profit nowadays. I mean, what we had in mind is we must only have one record for Manuel de Oliveira, one record for each of his films. And what we had before was there is a record for Manuel de Oliveira in the Film Archive Department database, and then a record for Manuel de Oliveira in the Library Archive database, and then a record for Manuel de Oliveira as someone who is the subject of a paper document, whatever, and then etc. etc. So we wanted to, we only have one Manuel de Oliveira, we only have one 𝗍𝗂𝗏𝗏, which is one of his films, etc. So the second key issue was really the data migration and integration, because we are talking about a huge volume of information.
Because all the databases have a lot of information when we try to migrate and integrate all the information in one single system. That was one of the defiance. Closely with Teresa, we had a colleague working, that was Maria Guedes, and she was a key point on all this project, because she together with Teresa find a way to have these standards collected and be seen together, and then to work all the data to be able to migrate it to a single system.
Yes, it was a reunion. It was really a reunion.
Yes.
And and especially because the volume by the time we started the project, which was 4 years ago, was already
it's already been 4 years.
Quite substantial. We had more than 1 million records in our library database, 150,000 in our film archive database, so it was really a huge process. And of course, one must always stress it's not original, but it happens. Another key issue is, of course, the adjustment, the adaptation of people to this new system. The previous databases were relational ones. We had 2 entities, so the work and the materials of that work. And then in this new model, each of these two entities are divided into another two. So it's added value information. It helps to manage the collections, but of course it's kind of weird. So we always it's normal that we have to be prepared to find people who have had worked for in the same way for 20 years and then who find it difficult.
One of these items, but the standards that we worked with, they were a bit more subjective. So
Yes.
we had to look at them and know how to use it and what would be the best way to use it. And so it has more work from our side that we usually do with the more objective standards. So that's what I found more defiant, is that we had to have our own view and just put everything together using these different types of standards.
Now I will show you a bit of our system. This is the main entrance of the system. It has this beautiful dashboard with this beautiful blue. This system relates to the work of different departments of the Cinemateca. We wanted this dashboard to have the overview of all the work that is performed by us in these different departments and areas of intervention. So it's global, and this dashboard is a bit like a global view that includes all the different collections that are in different departments, but it's really friendly to see all people connected, or all the people's work connected in this main entrance of the system. This is I like it really. So as you can see, we have this menu with of course there are different entrances, different parts of the menu that are available according to the profile of who is editing the information or just searching the information in our system. For instance, we have the catalogs, as mentioned before. So one of the entities in our system are the catalogs. We call it catalogs, but actually the solution we found was the catalog of moving images could not only be a catalog of holdings, because the Cinemateca also has as a mission, part of its mission, to establish the Portuguese filmography, that is the Portuguese film production, even if there are no traces of film materials. So we also have some cases where we only have information that film existed. It was directed by someone in the year something with these actors and so on. So one of the main
you might find the movie one day in
someone's
basement or attic.
Exactly.
So we need to keep track of that information.
So one of the data fields that are more useful for us are the 𝗍𝗶𝗲𝗀𝗀, the second from your right, which means the description level. And this is where we trace if the film, what's the level information we have on this film, because in this catalog we include those filmographic information, and also if there's only information about the film because the film is the subject of an article in a magazine or something. So we have this description level, which is useful, so we can easily know if there are holdings in our collection or not. And then going into the record of this work, in this case we have the work and then the record of the work, of course, with these different parts of description. In here you have what we call relations, that is, if a film has 2 versions or 3 versions. It might occur. In this case, it's we have 2 versions, the Spanish one and the Portuguese one. And then each version, in this case, it's the first lines that are called variants. For each version, we have the materials, and the materials are divided. First of all, what we call the manifestation. Manifestation is also always an issue in this new data model because it's the most difficult to apprehend. But generically, we might say it's the genealogy of the material. That is the genealogy, the format. That's what makes it different. That's what we record as different manifestations are if they are.
Can you give an example of what can be a manifestation?
Yes. For instance, if it's a format to be projected, that is if it's a film print, and if it's the original one, that is the print, or the family of prints that were done at the time of the production of the film. And then the film might be restored by us or by other cinematheques mainly, but
we all know about the famous black and white movies that were on some time of their life colored. So we see them now in colors, but they were
originally in black and white. That's
right?
what we call in that case it would be in our application of these 𝗬𝗏 rules would be a second version or a variant of the original work.
The same with the dubbed movies, right? If you have
Exactly,
the children
yes.
movies, for example, that initially were played in Portugal in Brazilian, or now we have them in English, but with subtitles. So these are called also variants in the terms of the system.
𝗬𝗏 model, exactly. But then the manifestation helps you manage the different collections. That is the film collections, the digital collections, the video collections. So you have not only the purpose of the material, that is, if it's the production materials, they are gathered in one manifestation, and then under that manifestation you have different items. One might be the sound negative, and then the image, another item would be the image negative, and so on, and even the film print that was exhibited at the time of the production.
And in these connections also you have the connection, for example, if a movie was made based on a book, you also have these connections in the system, right?
Exactly.
And we're always talking in the meetings about 𝗠𝗏𝗴𝗀𝗺. That's one of my favorite movies. And so we're always talking about these connections that we also can establish in the system between the original work, in this case the book that finally came to play in a movie. So you keep all that information connected also.
Yes, we can connect all that information. And for instance, we might have in our library collections, we might have the original version of the book Gone with the Wind, which is interrelated with the work film Gone with the Wind, but then we might also have the French version or the Portuguese version of the book, and they would be linked through the system. Exactly.
So for people that are not used to this standard, it seems a little bit complicated, but when you start seeing it with examples, as we're talking about, it's very interesting and allows you to collect all the information to keep all that's very specific of that manifestation or that variant, but also have a collected view of everything that's connected with that work. So I think that's the most interesting part. For the people that are hearing us that work with movie archives, this is easier to understand. For people that come from other areas, it seems a little bit more complex, but it's just because we need to keep track of all the different types of manifestations and types of works that we're talking here inside the system. And it's very interesting once you get inside this standard and understand how it works. It's very interesting how you can put it to a system and also help it with the system, because you don't don't have to keep recording the same information because everything is connected inside the system.
Exactly. Also, I would like to show you this is the same slide as before, but there's a tree on our right. This is also something we asked Quidgest to do, to develop. It's a synthesis of what we see on the left, but it's searchable, which is really helpful. And it's, mainly if you have more than this page of results. For instance, it might occur that we have 20 items of a film title, and we would have to go from page 1 to page 2 to page 3 to see them all. And in the tree, we easily and visually we locate what we want. This is really helpful if you are searching something, for instance, for the programming department. If they want to exhibit a film, they do not care about the negative. They will not project the negative. So they can search in the tree the exact print they want to exhibit and to ask the colleagues from the film archive. So it's really nice. This is the last page of a film record, film work record in this case. I'm still at the work level. As you can see, it also has the management of the collections. That is the line that is filled. It's a relation to a different table where we record the rights for this film. We might record the rights, the authoristic rights, but also the exhibition rights and so on. And this is information we need in all the different departments and areas of activity of the Cinemateca, because we must know to whom we have to ask for copyright clearance if we want to exhibit a film, or for copyright authorizations if someone asks us to loan a film. And also this is where we track the operations, like the monitoring of the conditions of the materials. And in this case, it's not the material, it's the work. It's if a film has to be restored, it will be restored probably based on different materials. So that's the kind of information we don't have. It would not make sense to add to the items. We will have to repeat it to each item. Sure. And so it's recorded at the level of the film work, because it's there that we find that information. And also if there are some notifications that we want to know. For instance, this film has to be restored. And there are different icons for that, so it's visually also more direct, I would say.
And from RIC, you also have picture images, right, on the
yes,
on the
yes,
file.
Exactly. So in this case, it's the film has been digitized, and the digital file has been recorded in the system. So we have a new item. We have a new we have a new manifestation that's a digital one. It might say that it was digitized at the Cinemateca in 2021, and we have an item which is the digital file in itself, and we have a thumbnail to illustrate the film in the search engine. But
yeah,
basically
we're going to see it a little bit more when we go to the search engine, I think.
The same model applies to the library records. So as you can see, we also upload a thumbnail of the book. I took this example just to show you the list of descriptors, the list of terms of thesauri that we use to record this book in this case. So each film that is analyzed in this book has an entrance. And of course, what we see, Batman Returns, Big Fish, Edward Scissorhands, etc., etc. This is information that's in the Moving Images catalog. Okay, and then from the
one of my favorite directors, you chose well.
And then from the moving images catalog, you can create a term that would feed, let us say, the thesaurus of the Cinemateca. That's a whole new world also, because we started just with the library and posters and paper archives thesaurus. It was a thesaurus for the literature and film, let us say, and nowadays we developed according to the standards of how to create a thesaurus, but we developed in order to describe images, not only moving images, also the photographic images and so on, but we have different, we can establish different levels, dependence, in order to give that access point to our users. The same applies here as in the film works. So we have also a manifestation, but as you can see, in this case, we have an upper level, which is the collection. So this example of this book I brought to you is a book that is part of a collection. It was a collection of something like 24 titles, something like that. Of course, all from the same publisher, in this case also from the same author. So we recorded the collection, and then under the collection we recorded each title. And then for each title we have one manifestation which corresponds to the publishing data, the name of the publisher, the date, the place, the number of pages, and so on. And then how many items do we have of this manifestation? And as you can see, in this case, we only have one. But if we had two, we would just add a new item record, okay? And finally, it's the same. As you can see, we tried really to keep the same data fields in all the catalogs, despite their variety.
Yeah, this is actually the key, because we sometimes use the same field but with different labels in the system, right? When you go to a different catalog, it seems like you're filling in a different field, but you're actually filling the same field but with a different label.
Exactly.
To be able to I don't know, maybe build the bridge for the technicians that are going to work with the system, because it's easier for me if it has a label that I identify with.
Exactly.
Even if underneath it is actually the same field, but we try to approach the labels with the terms that the technicians were used to work, and that was also some of a challenge building the system, because usually when you use the field, you use it in the same way in different spaces in the system, and we actually had to do this here, and I think it works very well. Because of course we needed common ground to be able to search across all the catalogs, but it's nice if you can go to the technicians with forms that are a little bit more the types of information that are used to collect when registering data in the system.
Yes, it's quite important, because each universe has its own terminology. So, but all most of the controlled vocabularies are common.
Yeah,
so
the idea of thesauros is the same across all these types of catalogs. So this is a very important common ground, and one of the main, maybe not yet one of the main ways to search information, but I think it's because the thesauros is still developing, but I think that in the future it might be one of the most important ways of finding the information inside the system. Because I think people might be not just going there and searching for Manuel de Oliveira or for 𝗍𝗂𝗏𝗏, but they're going to start searching for different things using the thesauros and the connections that we can build with the thesauros. But it's also, I think that's not something that we get from one day to another. It's not an immediate thing. It's something that we have to work and also to have the users to learn how to search with the thesauros. That's
yes,
not
to adjust to that. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
to that idea.
this slide is just to illustrate that we also can edit information not from the upper level of the work, but from the bottom level of the item. So I can search the catalog, for instance, for an exhibition, temporary exhibition that we do, that we present in our premises with the non-film, mainly with the non-film collections. I can search, for instance, by the nature of a resource. In this case, I search for something that has to have books or magazines that are signed by the owner. This is something that we can do, was completely impossible before. And now our second entity in our system or ecosystem of this system, the information that I told you about before, about collecting for the information on the film premieres in Portugal since 1918, that's the events, but also, as you can see, there are two underlines, the events and the programming. The programming has a special area in the menu, but these are events. So we are organizing events, we are creating information about events and programming, and then screening the films. So they have these different, direct entrance into the system where they create the film, the monthly film calendar. They are organized by cycles, by retrospectives, and then for each retrospective we might have one projection or 20 or 100, whatever. So what we have in this system is we have like the father entity, which is the retrospective, and then the children entities, which are the different screenings of the same film or of different films, but in aggregated by that retrospective. This is just a slide of one of that, in this case, the film retrospective record. And as you can see, at the bottom of the record, 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀 dos catálogos. This is where we make the connection between the programming department and the film catalog, which doesn't mean that we have in our holdings. It might just be information about the film, and we have to ask a different partner.
The organization.
Exactly. And the workflows that might differ. In this case, it's also the film programs organized. And as you can see, the parent and children issue. Here we have the film retrospective that was presented in January 2012, and the different exhibitions with the data, the time, etc. And now, a different entity of our system are, of course, the people. So in this case, as you can see, we already only have one record for 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗀. This is the search engine. I started with this slide because it has a picture, so it's also always much more alluring. And if a user, these are the external users also, search for 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, he would get this first slide as a result. And then entering the record, it might navigate through the information on the filmography, that is works where 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is credited either as film director, film producer, actor, etc. The bibliographic records we have by 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. This is the authority file, okay? And more information, that is if we have biography or something of the director. And we have also this label where you can go from here to the works that are related to 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀, which means the work where 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀 is not an active agent, but it's the subject of. So you can navigate through this authority file and search for all the works where 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀 is mentioned, mainly literature, of course. And this is how we record the authorities. So we have different information like in any authority record, but this is also where we search for the image to be placed as the thumbnail that illustrates 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗀 in our system. This we have this icon where we can select an image. And where do we select this image from? We select from the iconographic holdings catalog that we have. So if, well, tomorrow I will be recording a photo of a film director that doesn't have a thumbnail associated to his authority file records in our system, I can quickly
connect them and use the photo for the thumbnail. Yeah, that's because it's a lot about more interesting to see it with the picture in the search engine.
Exactly. So it's important to have
I think
an image.
we are running a little bit out of time, so maybe Teresa try to make an overview.
Okay.
Yeah.
The authority file record also collects information from the different catalogs. So what we see at the authority file record are not only the works done by 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗀, but also the works on 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀. So you have different ways of gathering the same information. In this case, it was just to give different the same, but in this case, it has added, because this is 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 at the Cinemateca in 1987. So we have, besides the linked data between the catalogs and the authority file, it also is related to the events of the programming department catalog, let us say, inventory, whatever. And it's the same as with 𝗏𝗧𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗀, and this is how the process I was telling you about recording a photo and then saying this is the image that will illustrate 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 in our
At the end of the webinar, we'll be providing a copy of the presentation for everyone that is interested, so you will be able to analyze the print in a little bit more detail by yourself.
Okay, so another highlight of the system is the map search. So we for years we have in our film archive department a map of Portugal with pins indicating all of these places are already in moving images that we have in our holdings. So we wanted also to have this map in the system, and in this case, this is how you search. You can search navigating the map, and in this case, it's only film materials. But for instance, for 𝗬𝗧𝗋𝗄𝗎, there is one film, but also different bibliographic records, and it's just nice. And then, of course, what we already talked a bit in this presentation about the internal management of the collections and of the responsibilities and the tracking of the workflows, etc. Interconnected. For instance, this is
the management part, right, of the system.
Exactly.
That's more about coordinating the teams inside the Cinemateca and not only about the inventory, right?
Exactly. So this is the same. It's just an example of a request that one might place. And this is already in the administration module. This is just to show that we can create whatever workflows we want. So we can design workflows according to our needs. and this is also where we add the controlled vocabularies that are used in the system and that are shared by the different catalogs. And of course, just a teaser, because we are talking about film, and films have teasers for the previews, and this is what Quidgest might expect.
Every system is a work in progress, so that's
exactly.
That's the most interesting part, that we just don't end the project. We keep working on it and improving the system and responding to the new needs that come up every day. So we're talking about the
new
society.
users, new needs.
Yeah,
I think it's a rule. So different points of view and
new technologies, everything is changing.
Exactly, exactly. So this is just, as I said, a teaser. The future developments. We want the variants to be also the subject of a resource. This is just an example. This is a film by Manuel de Oliveira. It has 3 versions, but in the bibliographic records or iconographic records, I don't know to which version it relates to. So, okay. And then also, this is just tiny, maybe. The inclusion of a spreadsheet with the programming monthly film calendar.
Not too complicated, just not done in the beginning, but very easy, I think, to add in the future.
Okay, so great. And more, we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's whenever we talk, there's a lot of things that we keep coming up in, and we think that we might improve in the system. Also, the technology is also changing every day, so having new possibilities also in the system and new ways to show the information. So I think we'll still have a lot of work in the next years, just to keep improving the system. So I think now it's time to get to our questions. So I'm taking my cell phone, because my colleagues will be sending here your questions. So be free to ask everything that you want. We will be able to censor the questions if there's something not connected. So I have here questions already. So they're asking, because we're showing the system in Portuguese, they're asking if it's possible to have the system in a different language. And of course, it's possible to adapt the system to any language that is needed. And also, that might be also some specific needs for a different organization that might also be done. As we said, the organizations, everything is live, so it's changing every day, and we need to be able to adapt to something like that. So let's see if there's more questions here. Oh, this is a good one. They're asking if it was complicated to put the technicians working with a new system, how we were able to do that, to change them from a very traditional way of working to using a new integrated system.
Being really patient. No, because this is really exciting. So it's easy. I think it's really easy for people to understand the advantages of this variety of these different levels of recording the record, the information. Of course, there are many obstacles, like we were used to this and now we don't have it, etc., etc. But we collect the feedback, and we try to understand it. If something needs to be changed, we add to the list.
Yeah, but I think that one of the most complex parts of implementing the system is always to deal with these changes that people are going through, and that sometimes they don't understand it very well, and they're very difficult to try to convince them that it's going to be better even if they need to get used to anything. So I think that's common in any technology project. So let's see. Oh, this one is interesting also, I think. Is asking about how it was to, I'm trying to make it into a more complete question, because I think what is asking if it was difficult to migrate the data that come from different databases. If it wasn't, what's asking if it wasn't data that was incorrect that you need to deal with when you were migrating, because usually, and this is common in all systems, when you're trying to migrate information, you always have like trash information in the original system that you don't want to bring to the new system. So how do you
That was a temptation, a temptation to correct all the errors and inconsistencies and so on that was in the Excel files that you prepared for the migration.
I remember because you had like different authorities with different descriptions from the different databases.
Exactly.
That was part of the problem.
Because the databases, the former databases, we would record in text. So it was not controlled vocabularies. For instance, we had 3 different forms of naming Portugal. We are talking about Portugal, so. So yes, in that case, it was easy to correct before the migration, so the data was already migrated in the correct form. But we had to stop at a certain point because it was really impossible, for instance, to review and correct all the sound systems that a film might have, or all the models and labels of the film prints, etc., etc. So we had to stop at a certain point. So yes, we did part of it, but we decided in certain areas not to do that with the migration process and do it after in the system, because the system has something that is really helpful. In these controlled vocabularies, you can add an end date. These no longer can be used, right? So you can just leave the one that you want to use, and if some technician tries to save a record in the wrong, with the wrong term that was from the previous database, it will not allow you, because it would say this no longer is in use. So you have to change, you have to choose from a validated term. So
that's very important, because I remember that when we migrated the information, we checked the files that need to be reviewed, right? And you've been working on that. So since we finished the migration, you've been reviewing all this information.
Exactly.
I expect this is a very long process, right? You're probably still working on that,
yes.
and you probably will be working on that for a long
Probably.
time. Yeah, but I think that one of the important parts of how we developed this inventory part is that we gave you the option to mark that something needs to be reviewed.
Exactly.
And so it doesn't stop someone to register something, but there's an information that it needs to be reviewed. So the next time you'll be able to do that.
Exactly. And also it differs from catalog to catalog. For instance, the library holdings are all public. They are marked as public, so they can be in our website with without having been validated, because they are marked as public. It's not the same perhaps with different catalogs, but it will not stop the users to have the information, to reach information. That's what's more.
And that everyone that works in this area knows that this type of information, it takes a long time, and sometimes we never get there. So we never get the time to go there and review everything and make sure that everything's all right. Everyone who works in archives know that it's something that never ends.
Work.
Yeah. So, and you never have enough resources. So it's very important that you can just mark and identify what you need to review, but you still have the major part of the information to be able to search it and access it whenever you need it. And probably next time you're going to land something from that work, or that you need to go there to update some information, you're able to go and review that that file. And it's a very, very, very big database, but it's improving every day. And I think that's a very important part that we we are aware that it's not possible to do everything right at first, but be able to segregate this information and be able to be working on it every day. So I think there's we've seen all the major points. So I'm looking to my team to see if there's any new question, but I don't think so. So Teresa, I want to thank you for being here today and to talk a little bit about the project. It's always very nice to talk about this project, very defiant, very challenging project for all of us. But it's very interesting every day to be able to work with it and improve it and make it the very best that we can each day. So I think we're going to end here. Thank you very much to be able to come here to listen to us, to come here in online version. It would be great to be here also in person, but at least online version. You can be able to access the presentation, as I told you before, answering our questionnaire. So get to it and you'll access the detailed information that Teresa was showing here today. And also you can watch our channels, because we'll be having further webinars in the next weeks. And there's a lot of different themes, so I'm betting there will be a lot of more interesting ones for you to attend. And see you next time.